Lots of creatives struggle to find their path in life. And that is because when you are a chronic creative, there is no map that you can really follow. Creativity is exploration of the unknown. So kind of by definition, there's no set path. You are kind of on your own. And yeah, it can feel like that sometimes. And it is pretty easy to get lost and even find yourself decades down the road having not really got anywhere in your real life. Sometimes even blaming your creativity and wishing you weren't as creative as you are, wishing you're more like other people who might just choose a safer bet. So creativity is definitely no guarantee that things are going to work out for you, despite how people may have told you when you were younger, oh, you're so talented. Yeah, talent is actually not. Talent can potentially work against you in life if you don't apply it in the right way. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. This section is called Fuck Gear. Gear can motivate you. It can even give you confidence as a creative, like, oh, I have this excellent tool, I must be able to make something excellent. And it's kind of it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you do make something excellent. You were able to actually make that excellent thing all along, but for some reason we needed that psychological unlocking mechanism, which was the gear. The bad thing about that is that's a very expensive way to get motivation. And if you can motivate yourself, find your confidence within, you're gonna save a fair amount of money because creative tools are not that cheap. So if you're inspired, you can make something amazing with anything. You don't need the latest and greatest whatever. Work on your vision, not your tools. Spend more time creating, less time shopping. Exercise your creative muscle and get dirty. It's easy to get sidetracked with these technicalities and kind of depress you and get you in a creative funk. You're kind of internalizing the external gatekeepers. So I think a lot of these kind of rules, they come from the creative industries, and I don't think they apply for artistic purposes. Art can be just as valuable or more valuable when it is a little rough around the edges. So my tip is to get dirty. So engage in the process. Don't look for perfection. These days we take so many shortcuts in the way we produce things. When we're making music, we use asset libraries. You got digital art asset libraries as well. Filters to make things look a little bit analog and things like that. My advice is to kind of do as much as you can by yourself. The more of the process that you are actually involved in, the more you're going to impart your own unique specialness to that thing that you're making, and that should be a good thing. I think people can feel that as well. It kind of engages the imagination of the viewer a lot more. There's a track by Grimes called Circumambient. There were bad things about the production of this track, but it is one of my favorite tracks because the song itself wouldn't be possible without these kind of mistakes. They're a part of what makes it really great. You know, maybe a recording engineer might say, oh, this is hard to listen to, but for everyone else, it's kind of interesting. This is a kind of a weird tip for creatives because it's one that I avoided for a very long time. But it's, if you are not finding yourself in a position of success in your creative career, feel free to get a job. It's adulting, right? So it will boost your self-esteem. It'll make you feel like less of a failure some of the time, although sometimes you will still feel like a failure, but at least you'll be a failure who can maintain relationships and pay bills. There are a couple of interesting side effects to having a job. I work in an electronics store in the warehouse. Basically, I've found it a lot of fun. It's definitely improved my self-esteem. I haven't been creating less because the time I do have for creating things is actually more focused. I'm a little bit more picky about what I do. I spend less time just messing around. I still procrastinate like a motherfucker, but it takes the pressure off your creative projects. Not everything you do creatively suffers the stress of having to pay off. Although, of course, in the back of your head is like, God, I wish I could just do this for a living. I think it has a net positive effect on the quality of your creative output anyway, because the improvement of the headspace. So I'm actually getting into the more important ones now. This section is entitled Finish Your Shit. This is kind of a motto of mine. I'm not really good at it. I've never been good at it, which is why I think it's so important. It's one of the things that have really held me back. Being kind of a chronic creative, I've explored many different avenues of creativity, and that means I can do lots of different things, and that means I will do lots of different things, especially when the things that I'm currently doing get a little bit hard or a little bit tough. I'll just switch into something else. Be like wanting to make a video and then I have no idea if it's a waste of time or not, and suddenly I'll just start making music or whatever because the video is hard, the music's not. So I'm not going to tell you not to experiment with different creative things, but once the play and fun is over, my advice is to kind of set up a project for yourself, a project that tests your creativity, tests your vision, test your skills, and make sure you finish the project. Set it up beforehand, make it achievable, and make it interesting, make it hard, but then get it done and don't quit it and don't just move on to something else until it's done. Nate Black, face the dark and hold your ground. Yeah, so hopefully this cautionary tale about me having experimented in so many different creative mediums and not really finishing much will help you not waste as many decades as I did, which was 2, the ideal being 0. The next one is kind of abstract. Clarify your story. It's about finding direction and I guess motivation. So earlier we talked about not having a map. So your story is kind of like your map. Who are you? Who do you help? Who are your people? What people respond to you? What kind of changes do you want to make in the world? What's important to you? What do you care about? Defining these things and making them central to what you do will help you focus more on what's important. And of course, with that will come the energy to get things done. You know, people, they're always looking outwardly, they're always looking at other people around them to try and gauge what they should be doing. And creatives are no different, but because we're on a lonely path, because we don't have a map, it's more important for us to find our internal map and our internal motivation. And that's what clarifying your story is about. So it's also a service that I do, alidark.com. It's kind of a personal branding. I call it creative enabling. So check that out for more tips. So the bonus tip is to be social. A lot of the creative process can happen on your own, in your bedroom, in the dark, in the early hours of the morning. That's not bad, but just get out there and meet people and do your thing with other people. There are a lot of benefits to this. Creativity is fun, and it's good to do fun things with other people. Like, fun is just something that we should try to incorporate into our life. It shouldn't have to be hard and shouldn't have to be sad. It's actually harder to create by yourself on your own as well. Having a second pair of eyes, ears, a second brain, you bounce things off each other, it'll just be better. The creative output will be better as well as more fun. For example, in Brisbane, we have a space called The Edge. It's a place where lots of creative people can go to collaborate and meet, and they have little events and things like that, and a little cafe. They have equipment that you can use free of charge. You just have to book it. A lot of major cities have these types of places, as well as things like clubs or groups, or you can use Facebook, I guess, although I do not recommend spending time on Facebook, but Meetup is another one. All right, so in conclusion, well, I'm going to start with clarify your story, because that's the most important thing on the kind of meta level. Love the process, don't obsess over gear, focus on your unique style. Use what you have, experiment, and let your creativity flow. Get a day job, adulting can boost your self-esteem. A stable base for your creative endeavors. This is also the most important one. I think they're all the most important one. Finish your shit. The world may seem challenging, but often it's your own self-doubt holding you back, definitely not helping. Set achievable challenges and see them through. All right, that's it. It took me ages to make this video. This video is quite important to me. I'm just gonna get it out there. Laters.